If you've been thinking about converting your minivan into a camper but don't know where to start, this video is for you. Nothing heavy, just roughly 10 minutes that might save you a lot of confusion, stress, and maybe even some unnecessary spending. We were so happy to receive a lot of compliments for our van design, but honestly, we made one big mistake at the very beginning. We started collecting ideas before asking the right questions. We actually spent weeks watching tutorials, comparing layouts, saving photos, hoping something would finally click. But the more we watched, the more overwhelmed we felt. And there were so many clever builds out there, but none of them truly matched 100% the way we expected. And here's the truth we wish someone told us earlier. Expecting to find a perfect 100% match online is so unrealistic, it just doesn't exist. And eventually we realized the problem wasn't the build itself, the problem was the questions we weren't asking. So today we're sharing the 6 questions that would have helped us start faster, build smarter, and feel so much less stressed. And hopefully, this video will make your early planning a whole lot easier than else. Hey friends, welcome back to Camp My Minivan. And we are Lena and Kim, 2 first-timers who converted a Dodge Grand Caravan into a tiny home for under $3,000. And here are the 6 questions we wish someone told us before we ever picked up a drill. So let's get into the first one. Questions number 1. What are your priorities and lifestyle for van life? Van life isn't just moving from a 90 square meter apartment into a 6 square meter van. It's stepping into a lifestyle where your priorities shrink, but your awareness expands. In tiny living, you can't rely on having multiple choices. Some days you have one, and other days you may have 2. And everything, absolutely everything, has to revolve around what matters most to you. Because we travel as 2 people, our priorities had to merge into one shared list. For Lena, the absolute must-haves were stable internet, reliable electricity, and the ability to cook real meals. For me, I needed water, security, like a sense of safety, and the ability to work on a big screen. Once we wrote these down, everything became clearer. It explained why our build needed a dedicated 15cm slot for both of our monitor and Starlink. It explained why cooking became such a central part of our design. The pegboard, the spice shelf, the accessible kitchen layout, the extra storage for pots and pans. It even explained why we ended up overbuilding certain parts simply because feeling safe and prepared matter more than looking perfect. Your priorities shape your entire layout. They decide what must be included outside the essentials like bed and storage. Without this clarity, every idea feels so tempting and every inspiration feels so urgent. Questions number 2. From those priorities, what big essentials form the heart of your build? Once you know your lifestyle, the next step is to imagine yourself actually living inside the van. Not the Instagram version, the real version. Picture yourself waking up, cooking, having breakfast, working on your laptop, changing your clothes, cleaning your dishes, brushing your teeth, resting after a long drive, or feeling so tired on a rainy day. Which items do you reach for? What takes up big space? For us, cooking is a daily rhythm. That meant our fridge, our stove, bowls, pots, pans, rice cooker, air fryer, and food storage weren't optional. And because these items were big and frequent, they needed the best space in the van, and that's why most of our storage is kitchen focused. Your big essentials shape your centimeters. Once they are set, everything else floats around them. If you skip this step, you risk building a van around things that don't matter, while the things you actually need become afterthoughts. Question number 3. On your worst days, how will your setup have you survive and recharge? Everyone loves van life for the sunny days, but real van life also includes many not so pretty days. Days when it's pouring rain and you cannot cook outside. Days when it's boiling hot inside the van because you've been driving under the sun for hours. Days when the floor is so muddy, your clothes are wet, and you have no energy left. We had to ask ourselves, Can we cook fully inside the van? Can we access the toilet without stepping outside into the cold? Can we reach essential items even when we're so exhausted? A good build protects you on the days when everything goes wrong, and those days will shape your experience more than the beautiful mornings. Question number 4. Emotionally, how do you want your minivan to make you feel? This emotional intention shapes everything: your materials, your colors, your lighting, your decorations, and even your daily habits. Since you cannot fully stand or stressed inside a minivan, and if the emotional feeling isn't right, you will feel trapped very quickly. We wanted our van to feel organized, cozy, light, and easy to clean. We wanted it to be breathable after long driving days, warm enough for movie nights, flexible enough to cook inside or outside, and simple enough that brushing our teeth, washing our hair felt natural, not cramped. Question number 5. When you're not traveling, how do you want your car to function? The truth is, during most months of the year, your minivan is still just a regular van, and that meant our build needed to be removable, non-destructive, and easy to convert a little bit more long-term. We didn't want to drill into the van or do anything that would be so expensive or difficult to reverse. Instead of complicated bolt system or permanent interference, we used very simple plastic cords and pressure points that are incredibly secure but fully removable. Even our water tank shelf is mounted the same way the original center console used to be. The build holds itself tightly because it's heavy and well designed, not because it's permanently attached. And the last questions: what are your budget and deadlines? This question shapes your entire workflow. We had a very clear deadline. Our trip started on June 1st, which meant the whole build had to be ready by the end of May. That gave us just 2 months to plan, order, build, fix, and test everything. And once the deadline became real, it forced us to drop every excuse we've been hiding behind. We don't have a garage. We don't have any experience. We're not ready. With the clock ticking, we had no choice but to move. So we nudged ourselves to get familiar with Home Depot until it felt like our second home. We went there even on days we didn't plan to buy anything, just to touch the materials, to compare the wood, test the hinges, and imagine how they would fit into our tiny space. We explored every aisle like students doing field research, and honestly, those visits were so essential. Touching real materials, not just scrolling photos online, helped us make better decisions faster and with much better confidence. Once we set and agree on the deadline, everything slowly fell into rhythm. Because when you have a real timeline, your mindset shifts from waiting to building. We also set a financial limit, $3,000 total. In our case, cheap didn't mean choosing low quality items, it meant choosing smart. We bought things in advance, secondhand, from marketplace. We reused materials where we could. We avoided last minute purchases, which is where most people overspend. $3,000 covered everything, all tools, materials, appliances, and gear. And the best part is, most of it can be resold later if we upgrade or change our directions. Deadlines will give you momentum, and budgets force your creativity. Together, they keep your project moving instead of drifting. Alright, so these questions shape our entire minivan conversion. They kept us focused on what truly mattered, helped us stop chasing unrealistic ideas, and reduce the overwhelm that kept us stuck for weeks. They guided us in building a tiny home that actually fits our lifestyle, our habits, and our real needs. Regardless of what types of minivans you're building, if you take the time to answer these questions before you start your build, your van life journey will feel clearer, smoother, and far more aligned with the kind of life you actually want on the road. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe for more videos on van builds and van life stories. As always, we'll see you in the next adventure at Camp My Minivan.